This is the S10 Ultra. Incomparable to any other phone in the S10 family, it's rocking a ginormous 6.7-inch screen, a tricked out quad camera system, enough Gs to destroy a small tower, and plenty of features to salivate the mouths of even the most loyal Samsung fanboy. Yes, this is the real deal, the true magnum opus of 2019 smartphones that's designed to excite, entice, and introduce us to the bright future of Samsung.
Victory!
Except, just one thing. This phone wasn't actually called the S10 Ultra. The S10 Ultra never even existed to begin with. But if this phone was truly as important and revolutionary to Samsung's future as they claimed, then why did they call it the S10 5G? And why have you probably never heard of it? For those of you who do remember the S10 5G, tell me, what was the price of this phone? How much did it cost in terms of the US dollar? I couldn't tell you. I actually needed to look it up while writing this script only to find out that this game-changing 5G phone started at an eye-watering price of $1,299 in 2019. Now, as expensive as this is, I don't actually think it's overpriced. In 2019, 5G antennas were really expensive to put into a phone, and the extra features you got with the phone itself definitely helped justify this phone's exorbitant price. But also, this was a phone coming out at the start of 2019, when people were coming straight off the back of criticizing the $1,099 iPhone XS Max for being quote-unquote overpriced. For Samsung to come out with a phone such as this and charge iPhone prices for it, they sure better have some mighty fine balls to pull it off. Unfortunately for Samsung, however, size was not on their side.
The S10 5G charts the path for the next 10 years of Galaxy. It's designed for a hyper-connected...
The S10 5G was announced at the S10 event, 20 minutes after the S10 and S10 Plus were announced and received all the attention. And for a phone marketed as the future of Samsung phones and labelled as finally bringing the future into your hands, they sure did want to make you wait for it. At the event, Samsung revealed that the S10 5G would release a whole 2 months after all the other S10 phones would initially launch. And worst of all, Samsung didn't even mention the price tag for it at all.
It is my great pleasure to welcome... I'll be there soon. What an amazing moment.
If the S10 family of phones were the kids shown off at a fancy family dinner party, the S10 5G was the one that Daddy Sammy hid in the closet. And then, to add spiked to the hot bitumen, when Samsung finally released the phone, they released it in South Korea, meaning that everyone in the tech space that wanted to review the phone needed to import it and then guess what the price tag is.
Straight from South Korea, because that's the only place you can get this thing from right now. If you convert the Korean price, you end up with around $1,000, and I've no doubt when it ends up hitting the market, you could be paying $1,100 or even $1,200.
Because yeah, Samsung still didn't want to say that this phone is going to cost you an arm, a leg, and a Fabergé egg.
I don't want anything.
All of these decisions led to this phone going underground and never really letting itself be known to the public. And that mythical $1,299 price tag went straight down with it.
Can you go?
This may have dampened the price criticism in the short term, but as the year 2020 dawned on the horizon, Samsung would learn why you shouldn't lock kids in the closet.
You're making me very uncomfortable. Please leave. Please leave.
At the start of 2020, rumors began to rumble, as rumor rumbles do, that the upcoming generation of Galaxy S devices, dubbed the S20s, would cost considerably more than the S10 series. This was largely to do with the fact that 5G was now being included as standard on all models, allowing everyone to get COVID, along with some large new features being added. But this didn't really matter, as all people saw was the jump in price, and they were not happy. So, when the launch of the S20 rolled around just a couple months later, confirming all of the price hikes, Samsung fans were shocked. And not just Samsung fans, a lot of people were shocked at such a drastic price increase over last year's models. Even if when you really look at the screen, camera and 5G upgrades, especially when compared to the S10 5G, the phones weren't actually really that overpriced for the components you're paying for. But rationality matters little when Samsung customers see price tag go brrr and iPhones somehow look affordable. Grr. The S20 lineup of phones underperformed hard, even during pre-orders in February before the world went into the chaos of 2020 just a month later. And while some of these problems could definitely be placed in a lack of consumer interest for 5G and some missing and botched features, especially on the S20 Ultra, I would say this lack of money throwing has to primarily do with the price. It seems that increasing the price of a smartphone can only lead to the downfall of it. Except one company has got away with a price hike like this before, and instead of being universally panned for the high prices, it resulted in a record number of sales for a phone that was considered outrageously expensive at the time. Enter from stage left, Apple. In 2017, Apple was rumored to announce something big. A smartphone designed to radically change everything you thought you knew about the iPhone. That model was the iPhone X, launched for $1,000. And this was in 2017. Flagships like the Galaxy S8 Plus costed $825, the Pixel 2 costed $849, and the OnePlus 5T costed only $499. Backlash over the price was definitely present, with some reviewers outraged that the phone costed so damn much. But most of them kinda just moved past it. Unlike Samsung, Apple didn't just release the X. At the same event, they released the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, which, in my very humble opinion, were the crucial ingredient in nullifying the backlash over the X's price. You see, if Apple only brought out the X and hit you straight over the head with that $999 price, then you probably would be annoyed that it's costing you so much. But by also giving you a choice to buy a model that had most of the features of the X, but for about the same price as last year's phone, the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus could act as a stepping stone between the previous year's iPhone 7 and the new iPhone X. Just look at it, will ya? And this allowed Apple to present the iPhone X as the optional extra, the next step up if you wanted the best of the best. Now, this also all helped that the iPhone X was the biggest design overhaul that the iPhone had seen since, well, the first iPhone, and that Apple is associated more with luxury products, meaning that customers are happy to pay for the high price. But I really think that the release of this lower cost iPhone 8 and 8 Plus were the main driving factors as to why the X was so bearable and, desirable. So, with all this in mind, could Samsung have handled the S10 and S20 lineup better? I think so. I think the main problem that faced the S10 5G was differentiation, because everything surrounding the phone was just a little confusing when compared to the regular S10. When the phone was initially announced, people probably asked, wait, is the 5G model just the regular S10 Plus with 5G? What is a 3D depth camera? And, how much is this thing gonna cost? I think if Samsung modeled the S10 family closer to the S9 design, or barring that, make a hybrid of the two designs, while giving the S10 5G a full redesign of the front and back and presenting it loud and proud with that $1,299 price tag, then I think things might have worked. Consumers and tech enthusiasts would have seen and understood the price hike. They wouldn't have liked it, but they would have understood it better. Model separation could have been better achieved, and the S10 5G would have actually had some features that people cared about enough to buy the phone. But that didn't happen. Didn't happen at all. And damn, that was a hard-hitting fact. And that's why, as much as I wish that this phone was called the S10 Ultra, it's sadly only dubbed the S10 5G. Fortunately, our story today does have a happy ending. After realizing that high price bad, Samsung followed up a year later with the S21 lineup of phones. Even though they had some features removed when compared to the S20 family, every single phone in the lineup shaved $200 off of the price tag. A trade that I think was an excellent idea, and based off the fact that sales were doing really good, it's a trade-off that I think customers think was a good idea too. Ultimately, the S10 5G is a rather cautionary tale on smartphone pricing, model separation, and careful customer brainwashing. Yes, this all definitely played out at the worst possible time in terms of the global economy, but Samsung was only helping to pour fire on the phone, not put it out. Hopefully Samsung has learnt their lesson, and in the future we'll see a more gradual build-up to overpriced smartphones that don't really add anything extra to our already acceptable smartphone experience. But then again, there's always the foldable lineup. Thank you for coming to my nerd talk. It's quite an interesting story indeed, and as usual, it comes out with Apple being on top. My favorite kind of ending. If you think I make art, a subscribe would be off the chart. And of course, stay strong.